Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bad for Your Health Entertainment. I'm Tom, and tonight I am joined by the lovely, the award-winning actress, best known for her roles in Alone and the upcoming Lonely Echoes, along with When the Stairs Creak, Miss Marilyn Knapp. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you, Tom?
Not bad. Also joining us once again is the incredible award-winning director of Alone, Masquerade, When the Stairs Creak, and the internet sensation of 2022, Voorhees Night of the Beast, director, writer, Jason Pitts. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you?
Not bad. And tonight we're talking about the 1943 motion picture by RKO Studios, The Seventh Victim, an unknown title possibly to a lot of film aficionados out there because it went quietly under the radar during the wartime. The 1943 picture, directed by Mark Robeson, produced by legendary horror producer Val Lewton, we'll get to him in a second, starring Kim Hunter, Tom Conway, Isabella Jewell, Gene Brooks, and Hugh Beaumont. Released in the summer of 1943, is an incredible, underrated horror film that I'm amazed that is under the radar for so many people. Jason, talk to me about your first experience with The Seventh Victim, if you will.
I hadn't heard of it until you talked about it, and you asked me to watch it and come on and talk about it. I really enjoyed it. It surprised me, just like from the cinematography and for the time, the blocking and the lighting. I mean, it was all really top notch. I thought really good.
I agree. We'll get to the cinematography and the plot for a second. But Marilyn, can you talk about your first experience with The Seventh Victim?
Well, I actually watched it twice. So I watched it and I just do what I always do. I just like absorb it as it's coming in, just go with it. Don't even really think about it very much. I watched it again, and that's when I really started thinking more about aspects that Jason said. One of the first things that I loved was the RKO stuff because that was very nostalgic to me. Although I was very young at that time, but I watched movies like that when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And all the black and white and the lighting and all that intrigue. I just loved it.
I agree. My first exposure to The Seventh Victim was sort of that RKO banner that always starts with the dun 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 dun. And I grew up as I wrote in several things and I've talked about in several episodes. My parents are baby boomers, so it wasn't uncommon for me to watch older movies from the 40s and the 50s, a little bit in the 60s here and there. But The Seventh Victim first came my way probably during the dark days of the pandemic. I would be watching older movies, sort of rediscovering things that I loved and missed about myself from my childhood. And The Seventh Victim was just one of those that came across a streaming service. And, I knew the name Val Lewton because of his success with Cat People and I Walked with a Zombie and Bedlam and some of the other Boris Karloff pictures he had towards the end of Karloff's run as a mainstay, as a name actor in the Hollywood community. But it wasn't really until summer this year, maybe late last year. I'm sorry, not summer this year, summer last year, where I discovered the other RKO pictures that Tom Conway starred in, The Falcon. And those were B-movie detectives. More on that later. I'll do great in-depth. We'll do great in-depth analysis of the Falcon pictures. But that's how I came back to it this year. And I was like, I got to talk about this movie. I feel like it's completely gone under the radar for so many people. And here we are. Jason, you're a director, so you were talking about the blocking and the cinematography and the setup. What was it that stood out about those to you specifically? Mark Robeson directed this movie, and for a first-time director, I felt like he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just the opening sequence at the school. You open on that the quote in the stained glass, and then you cut to a wider shot of the stairs, and then that stained glass quote is like behind the stairs, and then like all of these students come down the stairs, right? And then you have the one coming back up.
Well, those are the famous RKO stairs that were used in some Orson Welles pictures and actually a couple of the Falcon movies. But I like that there's so many subtle imagery in this film, like Kim Hunter in her motion picture debut, going across the sea of all those girls.
going the opposite way, and I believe that like she's wearing, I think she's like wearing like a lighter color as well.
She's wearing a lighter undercurrent with the darker dress.
Yeah, so like she's like everyone else is kind of has it's black and white, but everyone else has like darker clothes, and she has a light, and she's going the opposite way, and then the camera follows. So immediately we know who we're following. Mm-hmm. It was really cool to see.
It was cool to see, especially in the next scene where she goes and meets the head master of the school in this well-established room, which is only shown for about 30 seconds, the attention to detail and things like that. And then that sense of warning she got from the assistant to the assistant to the headmistress, where she was talking about, don't come back. And you, like you said, immediately you're going on this journey with Kim Hunter, who then went on to win an Academy Award for Streetcar Named Desire. Marilyn, what were your thoughts on the first part of the prologue?
Oh my goodness. Well, a lot of it was the attention to detail. I thought it was just all beautiful. And like Jason said, like watching her go up the stairs when all the others were coming down. And the singing and stuff, you can hear the voices in the background, and you're just like, what's going on?
It's like she's sort of lost in the crowd, like this one singular entity surrounded by this world that she may not be fully a part of.
Yeah, definitely.
Were you familiar with the Val Lewton name, both of you, Jason?
Marilyn? Not really, no.
Oh, he was a legendary film producer in the 40s. He started with David O. Selznick, who would produce Gone with the Wind, and he sort of served under O. Selznick for many years until the Universal horror movies of the early 30s were reissued in the late 30s, which led to a resurgence of those pictures in the late 30s, early 40s. Films like Son of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, etc. And then he was asked to help save the floundering RKO horror franchise after the two Orson Welles movies, which, Citizen Kane has gone on to be one of the greatest, well-renowned films of all time. But commercially, it did not make the money that you would think a film of that reputation would make. Yeah. And so Universal, RKO wanted to sort of mimic Universal by doing these monster movies, these horror pictures. To make a long story short, he would do less is more with Cat People, I Walked with a Zombie. And I feel like Seventh Victim is prime film noir, part horror, part drama, with a little bit of a detective story setup. That's what I think about it. And the interesting thing about the cast of this movie were all contract players for RKO at that time. And I think this is one of the most well-acted films in the Val Lewton library. He only produced 9 movies, but everyone's spot on this role. Marilyn, as an actress, what did you think about the performances?
It's kind of funny because back in those days, I mean, it's like very dramatic. Everything's very dramatic.
Yes.
It's very precise how they look. I thought Kim Hunter was awesome. She was like just very natural, and everybody else was a little bit like more dramatic. We're gonna do this, and and it's stiff, and rightly so, because they're all like professionals and elite people.
You have the lawyer who was very uptight, played by Hugh Beaumont. The physician, I love Hugh Beaumont. The physician of Tom Conway and his usual suave. But you're right, the way they talked, the one that was the most laxed was the poet, played by Erford Gage.
That's true.
Jason Hogue.
Good, yeah.
He was very good. It's sad that his Hollywood career and his life was very short, because he ended up being killed in the Philippines in 1945 during the war. But Jason, talk to me a little bit about what you thought of the movie in your first viewing. Were you a little taken aback by it?
No, it was a fun ride because, like I said, I didn't know anything about it, and so as the mystery was unfolding, I was just going along with Mary and trying to figure out what happened to her sister, and so I got into it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, the acting, like Marilyn said, is a little dramatic, almost soap opera-ish, but that is completely fine for the time.
Little dated, yep, little dated.
Yeah.
The plot of the movie, though, as you said, starts off with Kim Hunter in her school. I think it was called Hillcrest, and she is told that her tuition has not been paid in 6 months by her highly successful sister, Jacqueline, in New York City, played by the lovely Jean Brooks. She was a contract player for RKO. I'll get to more on her in a minute, but she decides to go to New York and look for her sister, and she goes everywhere. Her place of business. She ends up meeting a detective. She goes to the room that she stayed at that Dante's restaurant, which is more symbolism, Dante and all the story of Dante. And she meets Gregory Ward, who it turns out to be her Jacqueline's husband, played by Hugh Beaumont. The thing I like about the setup of the movie is we're given this image of Jacqueline, and we don't see her for about 28 minutes into the movie. So in your mind, there's this aura created about her that, I mean, does it live up to par of what the imagery in your mind may be? That's up for debate, up to the viewer. But I thought that was a nice setup, setting up sort of the character and the piece, the not the MacGuffin, but who she is. Jason, as a writer, what did you think about that? Were you like at one point like, geez, when are we going to see her?
Yeah, I was. But it was really well done. And she keeps meeting all these people and finding out just little things from each one of them about her sister that she didn't know. So by the time she gets to see her sister again, she feels like she doesn't even know who she is anymore. So I mean, it was a great way to build mystery and character development without even having the character on screen. So it was very well done. So I enjoyed it.
Marilyn, can you follow up on that? What did you think about the setup of the Jacqueline Gibson character?
Well, I was feeling a little impatient. I wanted to see who she was. But when you finally, I mean, her sister describes her as so beautiful. And if you saw her, you would remember her and all that kind of stuff. And then when we do see her in a very, strange, mysterious way, it's like, I know, it's like,
I know, it's like
Spears, but she walks in and her bangs are up to here.
The old wig that she rocked, that Jean Brooks rocked.
Right. And then, her fur coat and all that kind of stuff. But I went, I don't really think she's that pretty.
I think Jean Brooks was actually a very beautiful woman. The problem is that the seventh victim, that iconic wig, is going to stay with her for all time. Tragically, her career really is not that memorable, minus the seventh victim.
Yeah.
The lovely Chelsea Langelier says that's a great point, Jason. Jacqueline is a completely different person than what Mary remembers and is describing to than everyone else, like Marilyn says. Specifically, the restaurant, the restaurant owners, the Madonna, she is a beautiful and all that. Yeah. But the interesting thing about that scene is you get more development about her when she asks to see the room, and you get that first sort of that, not a jump scare, but that moment of, when you see the noose just hanging there in the room with the chair.
Yeah, something's up for sure.
Yeah, and was it her husband that talked to her about she liked she was obsessed with death, but like didn't want to kill herself. But
she was always fascinated with death, and it was interesting hearing her husband sort of just talk about it so calmly.
It's like the noose is a choice. Like if the choice is there for her, then it helps her live her life fully.
Yes, she always felt that she could
make that choice. That's why she has the noose hanging there, which is crazy to me.
It's like she always has to live on the brink.
Yeah.
It's almost like an adrenaline junkie always doing skydiving and all that other stuff. Like she knows the end could be on her terms, which I think is very weird.
You have a window right there. We're like on the 5th floor, right?
Right. Just open the window.
It's another interesting thing about the scene where we see the noose is that we're introduced to Mimi the prostitute, who's only in 3 scenes of the movie and probably grand total screen time of about a minute.
Yeah.
Mimi she was a very interesting character. Immediately I was like, what's up with her? Where's this going to go with her?
Always coughing. You never knew. I know this. I read some of the aspects of the script, and they described her as a a prostitute, and Mimi was always coughing and always just like bundled up, cold, and she's friendly. She's not mean, although at the end of the movie, that we'll get to that later. One of the things I really loved about the movie was, like you said, Jason, the cinematography, the lighting, the film noir aspects. Are you? Well, I'll start with you, Jason. Are you a fan of film noir?
Yeah, I am if it's done correctly, but it has a tendency of just getting like too dramatic for me. But I enjoyed this one. I do like film noir, especially like when it's done lately. It's just like very stylized, kind of like Sin City,
Neo noir, kind of like Blade Runner. Yeah, like where it's like really in your face.
Yeah, or like Dick Tracy.
Like the Warren Beatty one.
Yeah, the Warren Beatty one.
Yeah, the Warren Beatty one.
Yeah, but no, this was done well. It kind of made me want to make a film noir movie.
See, that's the thing. Like when you told me about your next project, Forest in the Trees, that's actually what sort of jump started the Seventh Victim in my conscious was your outline in a way of Forest in the Trees. But we can get to that later because the Paladists haven't shown up yet, which I still thought was a weird name for Satanism, but that didn't write the movie. The movie was written by DeWitt Bodine, who was a regular for Val Lewis.
It's Satan, like they're devil worshippers.
In a way, yes, because at the end they say that they've lost their way.
Yeah,
the Satan worshippers.
I kind of just felt like they were just like this secret society.
Well, DeWitt Bodine, who wrote it, actually went to a Satanist meeting at RKO. He said, I want to research this, so they kind of set it up with a fake alias. And the original story that Charles O'Neill wrote was not what was adapted later by Bodine. Luton ultimately wrote the last draft. But he said that's what a Satanist club was like in the 40s. It was all these elderly people that were sitting there drinking tea, reading books about black magic, bad-mouthing Adolf Hitler while knitting and crocheting. And he said it was very, very unique. Because when you think of a satanic cult, you think of like Rosemary's Baby or like Halloween 6 and weird stuff like that.
And then they're all like, we don't want to condone violence.
Yeah, I know.
It was an oxymoron. They were hypocritical.
Yeah.
They were hypocritical.
Yeah. It was. I was kind of confused. I think they tried to make it a Satanist cult without like taking out all the elements to maybe not tick off their viewers.
Yeah, the animal sacrifice and all that stuff probably would not have floated well in a 1940s Hollywood. I dig the aspect of
tame. It was a little tame.
A little PG Satanism went a long way in 1940. Marilyn, are you aware that this movie is possibly connected to Cat People because of Tom Conway as psychiatrist Louis Judd? I figured if anyone, because you're familiar with the older films of that era, as long like
I hadn't thought of that. No.
He plays Dr. Louis Judd in Cat People.
Oh.
Same character.
Same character.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's awesome.
It was cool because it's like one of those weird connections that's happened a few times in movies over the years. Michael Keaton as Ray Nicolette and Jackie Brown in Out of Sight and so on and so forth. But I, as a fan of Conway, and I know I'd like to do a lot more of Tom Conway films, I thought it was cool that he was in Cat People, which was one of RKO's I think it grossed $4 million in 1942 and is one of the most popular movies of that time for its time and still today. Cat People is an incredible movie.
Yeah, I'm going to have to rewatch it. Mm-hmm.
But spoiler alert, he's killed at the end of Cat People. And here he comes back a year later and it's Dr. Louis Judd. Now, the script did not call for him to be Louis Judd. That was something changed by Val Lewton at the last moment. And
so do you think this takes place before Cat People then?
I think it's a prequel. I always said it was a prequel because I don't think the term alternate reality was a thing in 1943. Just a thought. I mean, I'm sure, it was with Jules Verne and, H.G. Wells, but I don't think that was a commonplace for a B-movie studio on Poverty Row in the 1940s. Have you ever seen Cat People, Jason?
A long time ago, yes.
Did you see the remake?
I have not. Is it bad?
Yeah, Marilyn, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Not
right.
great.
Yeah.
Different. It stars Natasha Kinski, Malcolm McDowell. It's Paul Schrader and that, like, Paul Schrader, American Gigolo, light sleeper type vibe.
I like Malcolm McDowell.
He's good, but it's not Malcolm McDowell, say Dr. Loomis Malcolm McDowell, but it's the almost like Clockwork Orange version.
Yeah.
But Cat People is connected to Seventh Victim because of Tom Conway as Dr. Lewis Judd. And I actually dig the Judd character in Seventh Victim because he's a character that, obviously he's suave and he's kind of a jerk to so many people, but he does have some good qualities to him.
Well, and he's got that thin mustache.
The old pencil mustache. On a dare, I was dared to do that. And I said, you know what? It's 2023. I don't think I could. First of all, I don't have the face for it, and I just don't think I would look good with a Sherlock Holmes-esque penciled-in mustache. I just don't think I have the chops for it. But I do like the scene setup. I do like what about the scene with the detective, Irving August, that, he tries to con Kim Hunter's cat Mary into helping her find her sister. And then you get the first suspenseful shot of the movie in the dark beauty parlor. And it was his death ultimately, but there's she sort of shames him into going down that dark hallway.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk about the first time you meet him in the police station.
Oh, he's a scoundrel.
Yeah, definitely a scoundrel. But what is kind of weird to me about that scene is after she leaves, you have that the guy come up to him and says, and tells him, he's like, hey, she's looking for her sister.
You're looking for Jacqueline Gibson.
So leave it alone.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think that August knew, like that. It was definitely a warning, right?
Yes, it was a foreboding warning. Don't get involved in this.
Don't get involved in this because she's looking for this specific person. And you what that means type thing, right? So they never really did anything with that. Like it made me think that August knew what happened to her sister, and
he was ultimately right in knowing where she was, and it cost him his life.
Yeah,
because even though the Paladists were, pacifists, they still had people that they contacted to sort of do their dirty work.
Right.
And ultimately, it was Jacqueline that kills him. We had a couple of comments, but I'll get to I'll get to one of them in a second. It was a warning that made August want to take her case more because
I completely understand that. In fact, he said no, and then after that warning, he's all like, "Hey, I'll take your case pro bono."
And then dies later that night.
But no, she couldn't pay him, and then he's all like, "Sorry, there's nothing I can do if you can't pay me," basically. And then when he got the warning, then he goes back to her and he's like, "I'll take your case pro bono." So I get that. It makes me wonder, like, what his connection, which we never saw, or what his connection was to the cult, because there obviously was a connection there, had to be.
Perhaps the connection was made after his death because the cult brings him on the train that after Mary is running from them on the 14th Street subway, they bring him in. And that's interesting because in the commentary, Luton says that he actually saw something like that in his life, where he saw a man die or something of the sort, or knew the guy was dead, and then saw two guys carrying him on the subway with the hat and all that stuff, and just sort of...
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, like Weekend at Bernie's time. Yeah, they all knew it was coming, but they kept it quiet, and they did not want to rock. They don't want to rock the boy for them. What about after that scene when Kim Hunter then Mary talks to Ward? Hugh Beaumont's character I liked in this movie. As I said, I like all the performances and I like all the actors. But Hugh Beaumont has this one very odd character moment in the film. It was the next day after Mary calls him after seeing the group and the dead man on the subway and things like that. They're at the coffee shop, and Ward is sitting there reading the newspaper, and he ends up reading about the other murder of a woman on 52nd Street. And Mary's like, "You don't believe me?" And he goes, "It's not whether or not I'll believe you. Now drink your milk." I always thought that was an odd. You know what I'm talking about, Marilyn? Talk to me about that. I see your reaction on that. What do you think about that?
I was like, where did that come from? I mean,
Yeah, I was like, where did that exactly?
so
Go ahead.
so we're yeah, I mean, that struck me really strange. And then she's like against it. Like, I'm not going to, do what you tell me. You can't make me do it and stuff. But where did that come from? I mean, does he already has an inkling about what's going on, about the other deaths?
I don't know. It was just a
And he
very
just wants
odd.
to shut her down,
So
or
I think it's about subtext, like what is he really saying? He's saying, mind your business.
Yes,
That's what he's saying.
Ward was basically telling her to
mind your business. Like, don't get involved in this.
yeah,
treating her as if she was a child, as Diane Langelier says,
yeah.
which I think
Here's
was
milk.
drink your milk while I sit here and drink this coffee that's about in a cup like yay big. It was like he was drinking a macchiato or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it could have been like, hey, mind your business. Leave this to the adults.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I just think that was out of place for his character because ultimately he ends up telling her he is in love with her.
Yeah, but I don't think
That's weird.
I don't think he was in love with her at that moment yet.
No, I don't think he loved her until because that's the thing. This whole movie does not take place over 3 days. It takes place over in a nice elaborate amount of time. And yes, he did end up falling in love with her. Yeah. I'd be very curious. There is a deleted epilogue, which we'll get to when we get to towards the ending. But obviously, Beaumont is a well-known actor for his television career playing Ward Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver and his other motion picture roles such as The Mole People, Seventh Victim, and his 5 outings as Detective Michael Shane for PRC in 1946. All great movies. All love them. All want to talk about. I'll talk about them in depth at a later time. More research and development. But I do like the introduction of Judd talking to the secretary and just that very condescending, nihilistic, he's just a very suave character, Judd. And I do like the scene between Judd and Tom Conway and Hugh Beaumont where he comes asking for money for Jacqueline. It's just a very unique scene because did Jacqueline seek him out? Jacqueline sought him out to get out of the Paladists.
Yes,
I don't think so.
And he was helping her, hiding her and helping her.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly it's not past the Dr. Judd character to have relations with a patient. Perhaps he struck me as that type of guy.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I don't think that they hinted at it too much at all, but
he hints at it a couple of times where he's like when Jacqueline is found, when they go to find Jacqueline, the Hogue character, and they go to that party scene, which I still think is one of the weirdest scenes where you see Miss Cortez, the one-armed dancer, and all. You see that group, the group of Paladists, and the Hogue character basically has to confess his failures as a writer and a poet.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I thought Urford Gage was good as the Jason Hogue character. He had the penthouse attic in that slum apartment. He acted in some movies like I said, before his death. He was in a couple of the Falcon movies with Conway, and I think he was in Curse of the Cat People, the sequel to Cat People. But I do like the overall tone of the movie. I'm just looking at my notes. The other interesting character was the Frances character who worked for Mrs. Reedy and Jacqueline, who loved Jacqueline so much. I thought she was a compelling character in the way that she loved Jacqueline so much she wanted her to die, but she almost spills the beans on the entire group to Mary.
Yeah, she's the one that actually stops her, right? From
yes, she stops her. She stops her from drinking.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. I can't see you do this. You've always been so kind to me.
No.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite parts in the movie, Marilyn?
Oh, well, mostly, especially on the first look, I remember like all the use of the very deep shadows, the very deep shadows where people can hide easily. So when that one guy is following Jacqueline down the street, and she gives him a slip by stepping into a shadow, and then he's in a shadow and he steps out, and
Grabs her
all
wrist.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then all of that, I think, was so fun. I really enjoy that. I don't think we see enough of that kind of stuff anymore. I mean, most of the time it's just people, you could see them running and doing things, but that kind of use of lighting and the shadows, where like when the cult people were there, and that leader, that gentleman, stands up and he's
The Burt
talking.
Byrne character, yeah.
Yeah, he stands up, and then it's like somebody's holding a flashlight
The
underneath
lighting, it
his
almost
face.
it
And I'm
almost
like,
makes him look
that's so
demonic.
cool. I know. It's like, that is so cool. It's just little touches like that is, I think, the things that I enjoyed mostly.
Jason, you got to follow up on that?
That's the same for me. Yeah, for me, it was the look of the film. It was like a lot of the blocking was awesome. The use of shadows, the cinematography, and the lighting were the best. The story was pretty good. I feel like that there was a lot of like almost plot holes for me though.
There were 4 cut scenes from this movie because RKO was very stingent on having a film that went no longer than 72 minutes or whatnot.
Yeah.
4 of the cut scenes, 2 of them involved Judd, and then the other one was the extended ending. Okay. Which I get the extended ending being cut.
I like the ending.
I like the ending too. It ends on that very somber note because as the chase scene that Marilyn is referring to, Jacqueline is chased by the cult because she ultimately does not kill herself because the palace do not believe in violence, and they're going to punish Francis for stopping her from dying. And Jacqueline, there's a great lighting scene because all the other characters are looking for her, and there's a confessed love and this renowned friendship between the yin and yang relationship of Judd and Hogue, because they were yin and yang characters. But Jacqueline returns to the apartment that has the noose, and she meets Mimi. And there's a great the lighting. You said Mimi is the one who is dying, but she is dressed all in white and sick and has this realization. Jacqueline is the one who has life, but she wants to die, and she is just all black in the lighting. As you said, the shadows and the lighting. And Mimi says, as this comment just says by Diane Landry, it's also interesting that the woman who was dying decided to live, and the woman who lived is deciding to take it out of her hands. Yes. And the movie ends with Mimi leaving, dressed in all black silk and the sparkles and all that. She's going to go out dancing and partying, and you just hear that thud.
Yeah. With
the words that are said in the glass, I run to death, and death runs to me, and all my memories and dreams are like yesterday. I'm paraphrasing because I didn't have it written down. Aaron says, I have never seen this. I need to. Yeah. Yes, Seventh Victim is a film you need to see. I think so. I think it deserves its love and attention. It never really got it. It was the only I think it was Val Lewton's first movie that did not return a profit, however, but it has gained a cult-like status in its 80 years since its release. But yes, I do like the ending, Jason. Mm-hmm. But go ahead. Sorry.
This is for me, just because I'm a big story guy, and the story was pretty good. I like the first act was awesome. Her getting to New York, like there's a reason that she's doing what she's doing. She's looking for her sister. But when you get into the story and the relationship of a lot of the characters, I wonder if these deleted scenes would help fill in some gaps. But I just felt like that there was some stuff missing.
One of the deleted scenes involved Judd trying to join the Palace because he has lost his way, because Hogue gives him his manuscript to give to his publisher. It's rejected. And Judd almost loses his way, having to relay the bad news, and in doing so he inadvertently reveals where Jacqueline is to the Palace, which kind of contradicts when Judd says later they're smart people. So it was cut for that sort of reason. One of the other cut scenes was Judd having a conversation with, I believe it was Miss Cortez, saying as a physician he understood a curiosity aspect to the group, but he doesn't care about good nor evil because you have to believe in one without the other. Very wordy, and some people said they can understand it being cut. The other deleted scene was actually referenced in the cut, where Judd goes to visit Mary and says, I'm here to take you to your sister. Oh, you know where she is? Oh, my dear, if I knew where she is, how could I take you to her? You know, in that very Tom Conway-esque. Before that, in the intro to that scene where the headmistress of the kindergarten school says to Mary, you have a visitor. She says, oh, is it Mr. Ward again? There's a deleted scene between Ward and Mary at the school, and it's very similar to the dialogue that they had in the diner. Just kind of elaborate do-nothings. Yeah. And then the extended ending, which shows the aftermath of Jacqueline's suicide. It shows Mary and Ward and Jason in Dante's restaurant, and Jason's being all poetic, talking about Cyrano and his lost love, and it's time for Mary and Ward to go live their dreams and be happy. And the movie would have ended on Ward and Mary kind of giving each other a not a hug and a kiss, but a somber smile, leaving the restaurant, and there would be Jason all alone, and the Italian woman would come up to him and be like, now they are gone. Now you and I can drink wine and laugh like we used to. And Jason would have been on a very somber, Hogue would have been on a very somber note. That was the extended ending.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It needed to sort of end on that oomph, like a downer note.
So when in the sequence where she sees her sister for the first time and she runs into that guy, that's another private detective.
Yes.
That her husband hired.
That Ward hired, yes.
Ward hired, and he just disappears.
Like, yeah, it's just sort of like a forgotten character, just sort of discarded.
So I didn't like that. It's just like this guy, like what was he like? He obviously did well enough to find her in that moment. It's just like, what happened to him? Like, how deep did he get? You know what I mean? I just there was a lot of little things like that Mary, like her religion, she's this she came from this school, she's a teacher, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's a religious institution. I can't remember if they actually said it was Catholic or not, or whatever.
No, I don't think her religion was explicitly said, but there's a lot of the Catholicism and the religious aspect in the realization when Judd and Hogue meet the Paladists.
Right, exactly. So they set up that she is a fairly religious character at the beginning, right?
Yes.
And then when she gets to New York and she starts looking for her sister, and she starts slowly unraveling the mystery, and it's like, oh, they're like none of like her history, like nothing goes back to that. Yeah. And so I didn't like that.
Marilyn, what do you think about
that? I think Jason's right. I mean, I think there should have been more, a little bit something that happened.
I agree. There should have been more with this picture. And behind the scenes, it's interesting was that Val Lewton was given the opportunity to have this movie be an A picture instead of this B movie that is here and that the three of us are talking about 80 years later. But the studio would not give an A budget to a first-time director. So they basically presented it to Lewton and said, stick with your guy or A picture with an established director. And Lewton felt loyalty was strong, for better or for worse. I say for the better, because it's really not a bad film in the Val Lewton catalog. And Mark Robeson ended up directing Ghost Ship for Val Lewton, and he's a hell of a director. He ended up directing Vaughn Ryan's Express, I think Valley of the Dolls, and the 1974 disaster epic with Charlton Heston, Earthquake. So he was a guy that's been around. He was around the block. Earthquake's awesome, right, Marilyn?
I love that one.
I love Earthquake. Earthquake's one of the best disaster movies, not just of that period, but of all time.
It was so good.
Earthquake was awesome.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. It could have been an A, but it was a good little B.
don't get me wrong. I really liked the movie. It's just there's little things here, and like we can't talk about it and have a review without talking about things that we didn't like, right?
Yes, there are things that we can say that we didn't like in this review. We're not making the seventh victim out to be the 10 Commandments or
overall it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I wanted to know what happened to the first 6. Like they just said that they died, but this group doesn't like violence. So how did they all poison, like drink the poison?
They all poisoned themselves. Yes, death by suicide. That was the end of the people who betrayed the Paladists.
I just like if they all went out the same way she was going to go out, then why was it such a like it seemed like that they were like just like what do we do type. Like there was a whole sequence where they were just arguing over how to take her out.
Well, maybe there were other things that happened, like maybe they did things to people's minds, and the person jumped out the window, like we talked about. Just jump out the window.
It was all driven death by suicide, but they themselves could not do violence because violence in turn could be used for good, which was like, I mean, it was the wartime, and I was sort of like taking that into consideration, historical context, and I was just sort of like, violence, I guess, could be used for good in their mind, and so they were a unique group. If I had met one of them and they asked me to join their group, like most groups that ask me to join them, I would probably RSVP and resounding negative.
Right.
Right? No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So talking about that group at the end, well, toward the end there, where the doctor and the poet go see them, and they're talking, and the doctor talks about
The Lord's Prayer.
I know, and they're all like, "Oh,
It was weird. Long words
really?
forgotten. That was their climax.
I know. That's all it took is for that.
But I actually dug that from the standpoint that they had forgotten the way, and there was interesting things in that scene that I liked. And I know we're supposed to talk about what we didn't like, but what I liked about that scene was as they were leaving, that's when Hogue, a character who had very little confidence, develops confidence, and he was like, "The devil worshippers, it's a joke," and he basically lips off to them just as easy as you'd see anyone say in 2023. But the interesting thing was Judd's body work, because Judd wants to get the hell out of there. Judd, he wants to leave. But the second Jason's confidence builds and he says, "It's a joke," his position changes and he stands firmly with his friend, or bro, whatever the term would be today, bro. And he ends up coming in with the closing line and he says the Lord's Prayer, "Forgive us our sins." And I do like that. I get it's cheesy. I can see some people sort of being like, "That's it. That's what it takes for the Paladists to realize they may have been wrong."
Right.
So I like it, but I get it. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to convince you.
So when Jacqueline was like getting away from the guy with the knife, and the theater people come out, and they're all, "Woohoo, let's do this," and she's like, help me," and all that. And then they go to that.
Oh, we lost Marilyn. We had a comment, Jason, and elaborated on your thought. Jason, I think she kept evading them and escaping. I think that's why she said that's why they said to do with her. She was strong-willed to give into the suicide requests without putting up a fight. I think we lost Marilyn for a second. She'll be back momentarily. With filmmaker Jason Pitts and Marilyn Knapp talking about The Seventh Victim from 1943. It is a flawed movie, though, Jason. There are holes in it, yes. But overall, it's worth recommending.
Absolutely. Yeah. Overall, it was really good.
It's a unique picture.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of devil worshipping movies.
Not yet. There's one coming in 2024, is there not?
Maybe, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers will be crossed, and everything that can be done will be done to get more Jason Pitts experiences off the ground.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Anytime. As I said, I do enjoy these older films from that era. I don't know why. Something in my subconscious.
You can learn a lot from them. Like just going back and seeing how they did stuff at the beginning.
It's a historical context too. It gives you inkling to what society was like, what perhaps the popular culture subconscious was like. These were these were made in the wartime. But the interesting thing about film noir is, you said it earlier in regards to neo noir, like Sin City and Blade Runner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're almost forcing that visual cue of film noir down your throat. In the old days, they didn't try that. That's just how it was. Shadow, light, less is more. And that's one of the reasons I actually enjoy black and white films and older filmmaking.
It kind of the style developed organically and naturally, whereas now, like, you do it on purpose.
Yes.
That makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. You go out there to try to make a visually striking movie. That's just like you force it. What was a movie that came out recently that kind of did it, but it was still an alright? Motherless Brooklyn, I think it was Ed Norton's picture that he did, where he was that kind of played with the whole light and shadow and things like that. But it's done on purpose. Then maybe on purpose, but on a more subtle level.
Yeah, definitely more subtle.
Would you ever be interested in viewing more Val Lewton pictures?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. I got plenty there are plenty of them out there. I figure, as a filmmaker, not trying to dictate anything or suggest anything, but there are visual things, there are interesting things that perhaps filmmakers and writers can look to, looking into a forgotten era of a forgotten bygone era.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much that I haven't seen and so much I don't know. I'm always trying to learn more, and that's why I love talking to you, because you know so much about things.
I appreciate that. So. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot to me. It's amazing to. You should see the film books I've bought in the last few years. All these old Universal horror and Tom Conway films.
I do know my Universal horror. I have all of those.
Oh, the Universal horrors are great. But the thing is that those movies are set in, like, that Eastern European 1890s, whatnot. And I mean, they're good.
Yeah, it's like the Universal horror films are like their period pieces.
Yes, until they started doing the modern era, which was like, when did Universal go modern? I know they did it with Sherlock Holmes, but the monster movies, it's with like their period pieces. Yeah. The Lionel Atwells, the Bela Lugosi's, the Boris Karloffs, and all those.
Lon Chaney.
Oh, the great Lon Chaney Jr., the only man to play all four of the big monster characters. But the interesting thing is, Karloff ended up going to work for Val Lewton in The Body Snatcher and Bedlam, which is another Val Lewton produced film that I definitely want to talk to at one point. Aaron says Universal horror will never be beat, in my opinion. In regards to monsters, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In regards to the classic Dracula's, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Mummy. I've watched this movie a grand total of 3 times. I watched it a few years, actually probably 4 times. When I was a child, dark days of the pandemic, and then it was actually when I was on vacation last, and I was with my fiance, my future mother-in-law, and 2 friends of the family, all great people. I love them all dearly. And they had said, do you have a good movie that you could suggest tonight? We're on vacation. We're in Cape Cod. We're having a good time. And I said, well, I would like to watch The Seventh Victim before this big show on April the 30th that I'm doing with Jason Pitts and Marilyn Knapp. And they said, well, let's watch it. And I won't go into details about us watching it. But the thing that got me about watching it again with a group of people from all different age groups, the next day we were still talking about it.
Oh,
all its positivity, the good aspects of the film, and the negative aspects. And I was sitting there, drinking my orange juice and eating my Cheerios, having, my white toast with butter on it. And I just sat back for a second, watching 4 other people talking about this movie. And it was one of the few times where I was like, I did my job. I got people talking about something that they would not normally talk about in a glowing light.
Oh, that's awesome.
I dig that. And, they compared it to Cat People because we ended up watching Cat People 2 days later, and how the story was tight for this picture, and there were holes, so it was sort of like one of those tight knit Amazon boxes that just sort of was missing a few pieces, and that's what I dug about this movie. Almost its faults add to the charm of it in a weird way. I don't know if that makes any sense. Jason, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. Yeah, it's like you said, when you get people talking about something, it's a success.
It's a success. I would never want to see this movie remade. I will tell you that much. Marilyn, what do you think about that aspect of talking about it and loose remakes?
Oh yeah, no remake for this one, but
No remake.
yeah, I agree with you, Tom, that some of those holes there only add to the conversation like we're doing right now. And yeah, no remakes. I think it's just great the way it is.
I agree. Going back to RKO for a second, Marilyn, were you familiar with Tom Conway with the Falcon?
No, not really. I didn't realize it at all.
Well, that's maybe one. If you're interested in doing another film review, we can do a Falcon. There were 16 of them, though. That's the funny thing.
Let's just start with one.
Yeah, I don't plan on doing 16 in one
movies.
Yeah,
Where
16.
Like he's a superhero.
Falcon.
No, he was a detective.
A detective. Okay.
Yeah.
There was no episodic television in the 40s, and these B movies, they would knock a few out every month in a way, just to sort of keep
70 minutes each.
If that, I know one of them's like 60.
Yeah.
The Falcon was a ripoff of the Saint, Simon Templar, that Val Kilmer played in the big budget picture. And I think BBC did something with the Saint a couple of years ago. Roger Moore famously played him on the television series before he was James Bond.
That's one.
That's not even the Roger Moore one.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Sanders was the Saint. There were so many other. George Sanders was actually Tom Conway's younger brother. The Falcon was then sort of brought over to RKO, a studio-created character. Sanders was getting A-picture offers and didn't want to do B movies anymore. So in turn, they offered it to Tom, and Tom came in and did the Falcon's brother, and the rest is history. It outgrossed the other Falcon pictures, which was the fourth one. Conway did maybe 10 more before they sort of lightly rebooted it in the 40s. But that's why Conway got top billing in Seventh Victim, because Conway was in Cat People and the Falcon's brother, and Seventh Victim was done between, I think it was Falcon in Danger and Falcon Strikes Back. There's my rant for the night. No, definitely. I'd like to touch on a Falcon franchise if you guys were interested. I'll pick one or check it out, and we'll suggest something.
Yeah, very cool.
We'll check one out.
One out. They're barely an hour. It was like just an old B series that just travels on from month to month. Like I said, Conway played the character of Tom Lawrence from 42 to 46, but he did 10 little mystery movies made by RKO.
Wow.
He ended up freelancing after that because he was afraid of being typecast, but he ultimately ended up being typecast because he ended up doing the Mark Saber television series on Homicide Mystery Theater, and then went back to England and did some movies like Blood Orange, and then some other B movies like She Creature and things like that before he ultimately died of the cirrhosis of the liver. On that downer note, before we part ways, Marilyn, what have you got coming up now? What can we talk about in your library of future endeavors?
I really don't have anything on the schedule. I've done a couple of auditions that should, if they come through, maybe June, May, and then June. And then I've had a couple of submissions I'm hoping to hear back.
Excellent. Jason Pitts, what can you tease coming up here in 2023, 2024?
We've got Batman Heart of Ice coming out very soon. Probably within a month, maybe a month and a half. It's pretty much done in post-production. We're going to have a in-person premiere, and then it will be on YouTube. But that date hasn't been set yet, but it's imminent. It's very soon.
So it's going to be a cold, cold summer for you.
It'll be a very cold
playing,
summer. Yeah.
playing Victor Freeze. I saw your picture, man. That's the Victor Freeze from. I know we've talked about it, the animated series and some of the better Victor Freeze comic books.
And I'm really excited about it. It's my first acting role, so really excited to get some feedback from some people. They will, and everyone says I did a good job, but I won't believe it until I see it. But we'll see how that goes. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really good. He did come over and I did some ADR, so I did get to see some of it, and it is pretty good. So
well, he's torn it up as Batman Online. I mean, there's a cornucopia of Batman films online in the last 20 years. Some memorable, not many, but to tackle Mr. Freeze, I think is bold and definitely worth watching.
I don't think any of the fan films that you mentioned have done it.
None of them.
So I'm excited.
I'm excited for that too because I grew up reading Batman and watching Batman, and
that's one of the most popular animated episodes is the Heart of Ice episode.
Heart of Ice, man, one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's favorites. So I hope that we did it justice.
You're already better than Arnold.
It's not an exact adaptation of the episode. There's some twists and turns in it. So get ready for that.
What else you got after Heart of Ice?
We just last month I finished filming a supernatural thriller called Enthralled, and I think that's probably going to come out sometime next year, depending on what the producers want to do with it. But it looks really good too. And Marilyn was in that. Marilyn was an extra in it in the library.
Everyone's like, I was in it? I don't remember.
She's like, wait a minute, I was?
What?
She's like, Beverly Hale was in The Seventh Victim. And she's like, really? But Beverly Hale's in that? No, yeah, I don't know. It's like that. You like lose track of everything that you're in. That's incredible.
And then I'm working with my director of photography that I work with a lot, Charlie Brady.
Brady.
Next week, or actually this coming week, he's starting production on his film called The Whispers. Or no, Whispers, not The Whispers, but just Whispers.
Whispers.
I'm a producer on that, and I'm helping him with that. And that starts, I think, Thursday. So looking forward to that one. And then just finished my first screenplay, my first draft for my feature film, The Forest Through the Trees, that I hope to shoot next year.
Excellent.
That'll be my first feature after doing all these shorts. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you guys are making, I'm watching.
Appreciate it.
I think I'm going to attempt to make something else this year, something better than last year's re-debut with Blood of Thorn. I've actually been writing myself. That's what I did a good chunk of vacation. I kind of want to do something like The Seventh Victim, but not Seventh Victim. I kind of want to do something.
We just said no remakes. No,
I want to do something that is akin to those like 40s and 50s, like half-hour TV episodes. I know, Marilyn, I think I said it to you guys in a recent show. I'd like to do something like an episode of Peter Gunn or Mike Hammer, the quick 25-minute adventure.
Yeah.
Okay.
With commercials. That was something I wrote down in my thing. Like,
I want to have commercials.
Yeah, I want to have commercials.
Like commercials in like you in the actual film.
Yeah.
But old school commercials, right?
But like old school commercials, exactly. Like someone's just selling chewing gum, or perhaps there's a trailer for like Forest in the Trees available at local theaters. Something like that, like in jokes that like if you know, not like ripping off Grindhouse, like how they had the fake trailers, like SS Werewolf Women, not like that. Just like like Thanksgiving, which is actually going to be made into a feature. I think
that's crazy to me.
That is crazy that Thanksgiving's going to be made.
Too long. Like nobody cares anymore.
Nobody, no. It's like Machete. Machete came out at the right time.
Yeah.
I don't even think the Machete trailer had Danny Trejo. I think that was a completely different. Did it? What's the one I'm thinking of? That like
it did.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Was there a second Machete?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Was there?
It was.
I can't remember what it was called though. Machete? No.
Machete Kills. There was Machete and then Machete Kills.
All I know is that Steven Seagal stole the show and Machete from me. It's Steven Seagal, though. I mean, it's you can't help but laugh when you see Steven Seagal.
Yeah. 2010, there was Machete, and then 2013, Machete Kills.
Yes.
Definitely have to watch that one of these nights.
I never saw the second one.
I never watched the second one. I saw the first one, and I was just sort of like, "Wow, we're going in this direction."
But I like that kind of over the top stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good over the top like Italian action pictures from that era. The Fred Williamson pictures. You know what I'm talking about, Marilyn?
I do. Uh-huh.
Black Cobra. Oh crap.
I actually saw him at Universal once.
Was he a cool guy?
Yeah. I mean, he was just like, "Hey, I'm making a movie. Hello."
Do you have the cigar with him?
No.
No cigar?
No, he was in the middle of it. So.
No, I would definitely. Those movies are pretty good too. I try to be well versed in all the unique motion pictures that have come out over the last 100 years. I was actually, what was it that someone suggested I watch again, which was Doctor. It was from 1927. I always butcher the name. It was that German expressionistic horror movie. It was called like The Island of Dr. Caligari or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was the Island of Dr. Moreau, and then the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Cabinet of that was the one that they're like, you should really be watching. I'm like, oh, it's been like 20 years, but I'll give it a shot. I mean, I wasn't gonna. If someone suggests something to me, I will check it out. But that was the review of The Seventh Victim. Marilyn, last words on The Seventh Victim overall. Scale out of 1 to 10.
Oh my gosh.
And not 7.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So I'll say 8.
Jason. 7.5.
I got to go 8 just because I have fond appreciation for the movie and the crew and the director and the cast and the whole nostalgia. Nostalgia will always be a very powerful thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was fun. Yeah.
It was fun to revisit it and fun to talk about it with you too. I hope to suggest another movie. We can all sit down. If you guys have any suggestions, please feel free to shoot them my way. Same with the viewers. If you have any movies you'd like to see Bad for Your Health or any of us talk about, send them our way. Appreciate it very much, everyone taking the time to sit down and watch our review of The Seventh Victim. We'll have another episode of Bad for Your Health next weekend. Topic to be determined. Don't forget to check out Still Dead Illustration. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share and follow. For Jason Pitts and for Marilyn Knapp, I am Tom. Have a good night, everyone. See you next week.